You don't have Wi-Fi. Because it shows up like we do.
Okay, so this is incorrect. Still the C1.
It was.
That has
We presented it yesterday.
It's hard because I know that the bad signal would be, especially the criminal. What do you need? You have, it says, yeah.
He'll feel good about that.
That's okay.
Is Raul going to be arraigned this afternoon? This guy?
Remain, was that Main? I gotta find out when he's appearing. I don't know. I'll get that answer.
I saw in the docket right before he came up here that they requested a Rule 11 hearing.
Yeah.
But they didn't have one yet.
Yeah.
But it's an information that's already been
Appreciate that.
All right.
I
So
thought it could have changed by now, but the last day I saw 20 minutes ago, they applied for the date, right?
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to start in a couple minutes. Leah Foley, the United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, will start. She'll be followed by the Special Agent in charge for the USDA, Office of Inspector General. Her name is Sharmika Parker, CHARMEKA. The Inspector General, Department of Labor, Anthony Desposito. IRS, Criminal Investigations, Boston Field Office, Special Agent in charge, Thomas DeMio. Michael Kroll, KROL, the Special Agent in charge of Homeland Security in New England, will also be here. They'll all be taking questions. Besides Leah, I think the remarks should be brief. Anything else? Yeah. Yeah, so it's in the there are photos in the charging documents for sure. If you need them in some other format, Caroline could probably grab them for you. Yeah, you want them? Okay. Yeah. How are you? Good. Anyone else? I was saying if they need them, like, yeah. All right. We'll be down in a minute.
Oh, there will be a yes.
Well, the restaurant's not served, right? Might be worth it.
Good morning. I am here this morning to announce charges against $4 and $1 million in free government benefits that they themselves were not qualified for. These defendants used stolen identities from victims across the country in New York, Florida, Connecticut, Kentucky, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and here in Massachusetts. They also used the stolen identities of 6 juveniles. to secure SNAP EBT benefits in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, spending tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars to purchase inventory for a restaurant in Massachusetts owned by the lead defendant, Raul Fernandez Vicioso, a naturalized citizen from the Dominican Republic. Fernandez Vicioso and his co-defendants, two of whom do not have legal immigration status and one is a green card holder, used the stolen EBT cards to purchase large quantities of expensive bulk food items, such as multiple pound packages of chicken, beef, and pork, at various local wholesalers and food markets to stock their restaurant at no expense to themselves, but at considerable expense to taxpayers. As a result, they sold menu items at the restaurant at a complete profit, later wiring the fraud proceeds to individuals living in Venezuela and the Dominican Republic, among other places. The state of Rhode Island picked up on the fraud in June of 2024, when they identified SNAP EBT applications for 117 people, all of whom purported to be living in just 2 apartments in Providence. Rhode Island also discovered that many of the victims' identities also received SNAP benefits here in Massachusetts, based on information through data shared among the states. In June 2024, Rhode Island contacted the Massachusetts Department of Transition Assistance, DTA, to request additional information. Massachusetts DTA identified more than $115,000 in fraudulent SNAP benefits administered to the stolen identities that were also used to steal SNAP benefits in Rhode Island. All of the stolen identities were used by the defendants charged today to steal from American taxpayers. The USDA OIG is not aware of the Massachusetts DTA making any referral report to the USDA concerning this theft. These defendants did not stop with SNAP benefits. Not only did they steal more than $400,000 in SNAP benefits, they also stole over $700,000 in pandemic unemployment assistance from state agencies in Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Nevada. Let's be honest. It is no secret that there is rampant fraud across this nation. The charges announced today are just a snapshot of the bigger picture, not just in Massachusetts, but across the country. People exploiting our precious taxpayer money and government resources for their own personal gain. In fiscal year 2025, Rhode Island received over $340 million in SNAP benefits from the USDA. In fiscal year 2025, Massachusetts received over $2.6 billion in SNAP benefits from the USDA. These benefits are intended to enable low-income households to obtain a more nutritious diet by increasing their food purchasing power, not to stock someone's restaurant. Just last month, I stood here to announce charges against just 2 individuals with a $7 million benefit fraud scam involving SNAP EBT benefits here in Massachusetts. This is the tip of the iceberg. We are investigating many more benefit fraud cases in my office, and today's announcement is just the beginning. As you know, the president has named a fraud czar in response to the extraordinary amount of benefit fraud we are seeing across the country. As a result of the rampant benefit fraud we are seeing here in Massachusetts, we are naming a fraud coordinator in the U.S. Attorney's Office who will oversee and drive the fraud investigations in this office. The fraud coordinator will act as a primary point of contact for benefit fraud in the U.S. Attorney's Office and as a trusted advisor to me and my leadership when it comes to investigating and charging these kinds of cases. What we are seeing in our ongoing investigations warrants this type of attention, and you should anticipate seeing more and more of these cases coming here in Massachusetts. We owe this attention to the hardworking taxpayers who expect government officials to stop massive fraud schemes and to hold those fraudsters accountable. It is not particularly hard to identify these scams, but if you don't even care to look or prosecute those involved, essentially allowing criminals to steal vast amounts of taxpayer money with impunity, the scams will continue to proliferate unabated. We encourage anyone who knows anything about this type of fraud occurring to report it to the oversight.gov website using the site's link to the USDA OIG hotline. The information will be included in the press release that follows. In New England, we are fortunate to have the HSI Documented Benefit Fraud Task Force, which allows all of the federal agencies here today to work collaboratively to root out systemic fraud and abuse. With that, I will turn things over to the USDA.
Good morning. My name is Sharmika Parker. I'm the Special Agent in charge for U.S. Department of Agriculture's Office of Inspector General here in the Northeast region. In this investigation, the defendants utilized fraudulent means to steal government Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits, also known as SNAP. SNAP fraud remains to be an investigative priority for USDA OIG, and we will continue to help deliver justice to protect taxpayer dollars. On behalf of Inspector General John Walk, we commend the hard work of our special agents and our OIG support personnel who supported this investigative effort. Additionally, we appreciate the collaboration of our federal, state, and local partners. Thank you.
Department of Labor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony D'Esposito. I serve as the Inspector General for the U.S. Department of Labor. First and foremost, I want to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Massachusetts for having and taking the proactive approach that they have. It's no secret that many of these cases have been presented to U.S. attorneys throughout the country in the last 4 years and have been ignored. This case is not a one-off. This is something that's happening throughout the United States of America, and when there's no checks and balances, when there's no guardrails in place, fraud ensues. I would like to thank from the Department of Labor Inspector General's Office our Special Agent in Charge, Malone, and ASAC Roberts for their leadership on this case. When Raul Fernandez takes his sentence today, it's over $1 million. $750,000 of that was a U.S. labor program in the pandemic unemployment assistance. The work that our agents are doing, collaborating with others, inspectors general, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office, is critical. And what is clear is that this, as the U.S. Attorney said, is just the beginning. I know when I speak for the Department of Labor Inspector General, we will come to every state, we don't care whether it's blue or red. Where there's waste, fraud, and abuse, we will root it out. The case title and actually the name of the restaurant was El Primo. For most of us probably know that in the Hispanic language, I'm half Puerto Rican, but primo means cousin or family. What the defendants in this case realized or thought was that the American people was their family and taking away from the vulnerable population. And I'm so thankful to work with partners up here and, of course, the leadership of the U.S. Attorney to hold them accountable and to let the American people know that, once again, this is just the beginning. Thank you.
HSI.
Good morning. My name is Michael Kroll. I'm the Special Agent in charge of Homeland Security Investigations here in New England. First, just want to say thank you to our partners, whom I share the stage with, U.S. Attorney Foley. The partnership, the work continues. It never stops for us. We are committed to that. As U.S. Attorney Foley said, HSI's Document and Benefit Fraud Task Force brings together multi-agency partners to disrupt and dismantle large-scale fraud networks. And today's arrest proves that. HSI remains committed to rooting out fraud and holding those criminals accountable. As you see in the news, our fraud investigations are widespread. I commit to you that HSI special agents across this country and across the world will pull every thread and leave no stone unturned until justice is served. Thank you very much for your time.
IRS?
Good morning. My name is Thomas Temio. I'm the Special Agent in charge of the IRS Criminal Investigations Boston Field Office. I would like to begin first by thanking U.S. Attorney Leah Foley for having the press conference today. I'd also like to thank our law enforcement partners for their hard work and dedication for this important and impactful investigation. For many Americans who require government assistance, there's a process, a line to stand in, and the requirement to show financial need. But for Raul Fernandez, it was not a need, but rather his greed and complete disregard for U.S. law that drove his desire to defraud betterment fraud meant to serve those without. As discussed, SNAP is a government benefit that is funded by the American taxpayers. It was created to enable low-income households to obtain a more nutritious diet by increasing their purchasing power. What benefit did Fernandez think he needed, other than to fill his pockets with stolen funds? While he is caught on camera with carts full of meats and groceries, we know that he was not simply trying to make ends meet and feed his family at home. He was using it for his restaurant that had paying customers. He was also having employees launder his illicit funds. He was unshamed and deliberate. His theft of government funds victimized all of us, American taxpayers. Today, these arrests are a symbol of justice, not only for those identities that were stolen and misused by Fernandez, nor hardworking families that had to go without because Fernandez stole from a limited pool of funds he was not entitled to, but for every American taxpayer who, in part, funded Fernandez's scheme of self-enrichment at the cost of those less fortunate than he. IRS CI Boston's office worked closely with our federal partners in this investigation. Whether it's complex transnational financial investigations or following the money in a federal benefits fraud scheme, we continue to use our expertise to follow the financial trails that lead to the perpetrators. And we will continue to work in tandem with our partners to ensure those fraudsters see justice for their illicit behaviors. Thank you.
Should I take some questions?
You mentioned your previous announcement of $7 million in SNAP fraud, and this paperwork mentions that these defendants exploited online applications for SNAP benefits. Is there something that makes Massachusetts particularly vulnerable to this type of fraud?
So, yes, because in any state that allows for online applications without verifying any ability to verify the documents that are being submitted are authentic, is leaving itself open to abuse and to be defrauded. And there are easy steps that we can take in this age to make sure that when you apply for something and you say who you are and you say you are entitled to this, that you are going to submit the documents that are authentic and that will actually be checked to determine your actual qualifications.
Do you have any understanding of how many states do this same thing?
I don't. Anybody?
Online, all 50, plus U.S.
Can you
territories.
step up?
Sorry.
Yep.
So all U.S. states and territories do operate using the electronic benefit system and the online portal to apply for SNAP benefits.
So is it just Massachusetts that's not authenticating? I guess I'm just trying to clarify, U.S. Attorney Foley, what you mean. Is it unique to Massachusetts?
It's not unique to Massachusetts.
So other states are
It's-
also authenticating whatever you're uploading onto these online applications?
So the online portal that people use to apply for SNAP benefits, that's across all 50 states and U.S. territories. They all virtually ask for the same information. So, you know, I would say years ago, there was a system where you would actually have to go into an office to apply. That system is now electronic, just with anything else, right? So if you think about, if you apply for a bank account, you could apply for a bank account at any financial institution online.
So Lear, can you talk about this, you say there's rampant, this is rampant. The book filing says that the total amount stolen by these individuals that are charged in Massachusetts was over 100, just over 100,000, 115,000, 325,000 in Rhode Island. And Rhode Island actually is the state officials that notified federal authorities, is that right? So can you just,
No.
where is it that it's rampant? And there was some announcement this week by by state authorities that they had, identified some fraud. So can you elaborate a little bit?
Yes. When the referrals were made from Rhode Island to Massachusetts, Massachusetts confirmed that $115,000 in fraudulent benefits had been dispersed. They turned those cards off. They did not make any referrals to any of these federal agencies or to the U.S. Attorney's Office so that we could go out and find the person who used stolen identities. Because just shutting those off is not going to stop that person from going and obtaining new stolen identities and continuing the same fraud. And there are certain safeguards that certain states can implement to stem some of this fraud. For example, if there were a chip into these EBT cards, that would make it harder for people to counterfeit those cards and to use those cards to scam the taxpayers. That is, individual states get to decide whether they embed those chips or not. Massachusetts does not.
Do other states do that?
There are some that do.
How many? You know?
Less than half a dozen.
Less than half a dozen have chips.
And this criticism is not directed solely at Massachusetts. I want to make that clear. We believe that this fraud is nationwide, and we are doing what we can to stop that from happening nationwide, because every taxpayer everywhere in this country is getting defrauded, not only in Massachusetts. And I have never given a press conference where I have not said, we want to work with state and locals and every federal agency to protect the public's interest. And this is in the public's interest. The public needs to know what its officials are doing to protect the taxpayer dollars.
So is that what, when you said earlier, fraud is not hard to find if you don't even care to look? Is that what you're talking about? I wonder if you could expand and explain what you mean by that.
Well, when people are allowed to commit crimes with impunity, they are going to continue to do it. And others will do it because there's no consequence. So that is what I mean. When we say we are going after this, this is a presidential priority, and we are going to assist in making sure that that priority leads to the prosecution of criminals who are stealing from the taxpayers. And we would like everyone's cooperation in doing that.
So are you saying it's the states that are not caring to look?
Whether they are not caring to look or whether they are not referring it so that somebody else can look into prosecutions, I don't know. But we, again, have an open dialogue, and we will partner with anyone to help identify and stop this fraud and hold people accountable who have stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars from the taxpayers.
Can you talk a little bit more about how this started? You said that the state of Rhode Island, it was state officials. How did they uncover it? Did they have a different system in place that they were able to notice this, and how they came to find out this was going on to actually report it to federal authorities?
My understanding, it was from an audit that was conducted by Rhode Island. And they noticed. And when these agencies work hand in hand with states across the country to help their OIGs and their departments that are responsible for maintaining these benefit programs and to dispersing the programs, what to look for to identify fraud. If you have 100 people who claim to live in 2 apartments, that's fraud. If you have hundreds of applications that are coming in from the same IP address, that's an indication of fraud, especially when that IP address isn't even in your state. Now, some of the recommendations that we could come up with could arise from the state level, and some might have to be coming down from the federal level. Whether states should be required to share their data enrollees with each other to make sure that duplicative applications aren't coming in from multiple states. The affidavit refers to a victim who is in Massachusetts, who has a young child, who had SNAP benefits, and then had trouble getting SNAP benefits because someone had stolen her identity and applied for SNAP benefits somewhere else. Collectively, as a nation, we should do whatever we can to stop that from happening.
Massachusetts U.S. Attorney released the results of an audit she did last week, saying $12 million in public benefit fraud in fiscal year 25. Have you been in contact with her about working collaboratively?
Are you talking about the Massachusetts State Auditor?
Obviously, the auditor, not U.S. Attorney.
We have not spoken with the OIG or the inspectors general who were working with the auditor, but we welcome any referrals to our office. And if there's any collaboration we can do going forward with them to, again, not only identify it, but to prosecute the people who have committed crimes, we will do it. We will work with anyone.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
Thanks,